Everybody, and welcome. Wanted to put together this quick little video on using GitHub for version control with your Unity game engine project. There may be other ways to go about this, but this seems to be the easy approach that I've used with my high school students, and so far it's been working very well. The first thing that I always have us do is go to our GitHub account and to go ahead and make the repository here on github.com first. Even though you can do this with GitHub Desktop, it seems to work best creating the repository first here. So once I'm logged in, I click on New Repository. I'm going to go ahead and create the name of the game itself. Now I know Unity has a project name and then the GitHub repo has a name. So if you wanted to keep those similar or adjust them accordingly, what I have my students do is, because the repository is the parent folder for your project, I have them put down the repository name with, like, say, GH. So we have GH, so GitHub, and then the name of the project, let's say it's a 3D So I know that this is the folder that for the GH for GitHub. So name of the repository, provide a description of the project, make sure it's public, and make sure your students have it public. That way you can look at their repository. Private obviously is for yourself. Always initialize with the README file. This is a good place to put if you wanted to give students a code base and some information about it. This is a good spot to add your markdown in your README to give students information about a current project or file. If you don't check this off, github.com here is going to ask you to make this file here in the web browser. So just go ahead and make sure you initialize that right away. And then I know that there are a lot of ignore template files that are out there on the web and also in here in GitHub, but they already have the templates built in for you, in here for you. So go ahead and click on this and then just search up Unity. So that way you have this template, the .gitignore file here directly already linked. And then if you want to put a license to your project and so forth, and then you go ahead and create that repository, let that take a few minutes to get created. And then here again, the README file is going to give you some information about this repository. This is a good spot to give information about the project. And then from here, if you have the GitHub Desktop application, you can always go here to code, and you can then open with GitHub to go ahead and bring that down. Sometimes this gets confusing for students, so I disregard going that route. I actually open up the application directly. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, if you're using GitHub Desktop for the first time, your interface may look a little bit different, but the settings are the same. And if you notice that I'm on a Mac operating system versus a Windows operating system, that my menu bar is going to be up across the top and not here on the Windows application. But the same approach for grabbing and cloning your project from github.com is the same way for Windows or Mac, is that we can go up here to repositories here, and we can view and find those particular ones there. But what I want to do is I want to go to File, and I want to clone the repository. I can go here, or if you're on the actual application, this is the current project that I have opened up for our PD. I can click on the arrow. I can go to Add, and I can clone the repository there as well. But I have the students go to File, Clone Repository, and then go ahead and search for that repository. Here it is, GH. So I'll type in GH. There's that project I created. If the local path has not been created for you, you can create your local path. Here I have this set up to go into a repos and Unity folder that I want to clone down to. And then one big difference if you're on a Mac versus a PC is if you go to Show in Folder, this is where the project where the repository is located at. So show in folder. And inside here, there's my project. Here is the README, but you don't see the .gitignore file. On a Mac, you got to do Shift Command period to reveal the hidden files. On a Mac, all dot files are hidden. In order for us to see that, we need access to this file. If you're on a Windows machine, you could actually see that, and that's what's going to go into your Unity project that we need to then publish back and forth for our version control. So I'm going to leave that there open for a moment. And then if I were to go and open up Unity Hub to get our project started, this is the one that we want to create inside this GitHub, this GH3D platformer game that I want to create. Okay, so I want to make a new project. So I go new project. And because I want to be able to see the name of the project, so here are all the different names of all the different projects I'm working with. So I want to leave that the name of the project, but I want the location to be the GH folder. So new project. So here for my project name, so make it a 3D core, and I'm going to make this project my 3D former game. Make sure you don't have any conflicting names in your project. I'm going to go to the folder to locate, so to my Unity repositories. There's my GH. So this is the folder that I want to make this one into. Select this folder, and then I'm going to go ahead and make this project. So now that I have my Unity project and I want to be able to push and pull to my repository, if I go back to GitHub Desktop, on the initial creation, it's going to load every file, and you can see here that I've got over 12,000 file changes to my project. GitHub is not going to like that. They want to keep the files minimal. So in order for us to adjust this, if I actually go back to where my files are located, here is the Unity project folder. Is that this .gitignore has to be inside. So I'm going to drag and drop that into my Unity project. That's where it has to live, so it knows what to disregard. And then if I go back to my GitHub desktop, now I've been changed to 32 files. So that's the gitignore file working correctly. And then I usually have the students create an initial commit on the project, and then I commit that to main and then push to origin. And then back here, currently this was 6 minutes ago. I'm going to refresh the browser, and now there's my Unity project and committed with my comment. This will also help students to identify changes in the project if you're giving them a file to work from in the future. And that's how I have my students set up GitHub Desktop and github.com with our Unity project. And that way my students can go home and work on their projects